6 inches from her bumper, something crosses the center line and doesn't stop. She's mid-curve on a 2-lane road, cutting through the Appalachian foothills. Headlights doing less work than she thinks in the dark. Eyes on the road, but not on the tree line running alongside it. That's the moment. Not the impact. Not yet. Just the gap between what she's looking at and what's actually there. This list ranks 10 animals in the Appalachian Mountains by confirmed threat, not by how much they scare you. Some of that ranking is going to feel wrong. Bears don't take the top spot. The animal that causes the most documented harm out here is small enough to miss completely. Every rank on this list comes from attack data and confirmed incidents, not campfire stories. The animal at the top of this list doesn't have teeth. It doesn't have venom. And it's not even aware you exist. Ranks 10 through 8. The overhyped threats. Start at number 10, coyotes. Confirmed and documented, coyotes reached the northern Appalachians decades ago, working into New York and New England out of the Midwest, well before most people noticed. It was the 1980s that pushed them into the southern half of the range, into hollows and ridgelines where no coyote had ever set foot before. Here's where it gets specific. Coyotes moving through the northern range picked up wolf genes along the way, breeding with the last remnant wolf populations as they pushed east, confirmed by genetic testing on trapped animals, not campfire talk. The result is a coyote noticeably bigger than its western cousin, sometimes 50 pounds instead of 30. That's real. Somebody in a hollow outside Asheville hears yipping right at the tree line around dusk, and the family cat doesn't come in that night. That scene is real too. Coyotes do take cats and small livestock when the chance is there, but turn that same scene toward a grown adult standing on a porch, and the record goes quiet. Confirmed attacks on adult humans in Appalachia sit close to 0. The range creep is documented. The danger isn't. Number 9, bobcats. You're not seeing one. They're nocturnal, solitary, and built to avoid you. And most people who spend a lifetime in these mountains never spot one outside a trail camera. The confirmed attacks that do exist almost always trace back to one specific cause: rabies. A healthy bobcat wants nothing to do with a person twice its size. A rabid one loses that wiring entirely. The fear response just switches off, and that's the actual mechanism behind almost every bobcat attack on record. Confirmed. Disease, not aggression. Number 8, feral hogs. Here's the range creep that matters for this one. Hogs have been pushing up out of Tennessee and Georgia into the southern Appalachian foothills for years now, rooting through creek bottoms, tearing up food plots, showing up on land where nobody remembers seeing one a decade ago. Picture a half-acre of pasture turned over almost overnight, dirt flipped a foot deep in long, ragged strips, grass and roots torn loose and piled at the edges like something dragged a plow through it in the dark. That's a sounder of hogs working soft ground after a rain, tearing out grubs and worms, and they can do that kind of damage to a field in a single night without anybody hearing a thing. Nobody's inviting hogs onto their property, but a hog doesn't need an invitation, and once it's established, it doesn't leave. The actual danger isn't a hog hunting a person. That's not documented behavior. It's a sow with piglets, cornered, with no clean way out. That's the collision, not predation, defense. These 3 get the headlines because they look the part: teeth and tusks and news footage of a coyote in a backyard. But looking dangerous and being dangerous, according to the record, are 2 different columns. The next tier actually closes that gap. Ranks 7 through 5. Confirmed bites. Rising numbers. Number 7, copperheads. This is the most common venomous bite across the entire Appalachian range, confirmed by poison control data out of Virginia, West Virginia, and Tennessee, year after year. Here's why. Camouflage plus tolerance. A copperhead's pattern, hourglass bands in copper and tan, breaks up almost perfectly against dead leaves, so you can be a foot away and not know it. Most bites happen because somebody put a hand or a foot down without ever spotting the snake, not because it struck from any kind of distance. And unlike a lot of snakes, a copperhead doesn't automatically bail when a yard turns into a subdivision. It tolerates the edge of human space instead of retreating from it. Now, separate two things that get blurred together: how often it bites, and how dangerous each bite actually is. Copperhead venom is comparatively mild as far as pit vipers go. Fatalities are rare, genuinely rare, but volume is what earns this snake its rank. Here's where the numbers get specific. Poison control centers across Virginia, West Virginia, and Tennessee. Log copperhead calls every warm month from April through October. More calls for copperheads than for every other venomous snake in the region combined. That's the number. Every year. Confirmed. Number 6. Cottonmouths, also called water moccasins. Their range is tighter, mostly the lower, wetter fringes of Appalachia, southern river valleys, slow water. Fewer bites overall than copperheads, but when a bite happens, it tends to be more severe, more tissue damage, a rougher recovery. Here's the myth that needs correcting directly. Cottonmouths do not chase people across open water. That image, a snake hunting a swimmer down, is folklore. It's not in the documented behavior record. What is confirmed is a snake that stands its ground when it feels cornered near water, which people read as aggression when it's closer to a refusal to retreat. Confirmed. Defense, not pursuit. Number 5. Black bears. Fatal black bear attacks across the Appalachians are confirmed to be rare, genuinely rare, and most incidents that do happen aren't predatory at all. They're defensive, a sow with cubs, a bear surprised at close range, or they're food conditioned. A bear that's learned coolers and campsites mean an easy meal. Here's how that chain actually builds, one link at a time. A bear raids an unsecured trash can behind a cabin and gets a free meal for no effort at all. It comes back the next week because that memory outweighs the caution that kept it in the tree line its whole life up to that point. Within a season or two, that same bear is walking a campground in daylight, checking coolers, ignoring people standing 20 feet away, because the fear response that used to fire the second it caught human scent has been overwritten by the smell of food. That's the actual mechanism worth remembering. A bear that gets fed by people, even once, even by accident, starts losing the wariness that normally keeps it away from you. That's the danger chain. Not raw aggression, habituation. 3 animals left in this ranking, and from here the record gets more specific and more lethal. Ranks 4 through 2, where the real damage is documented. Number 4. Timber rattlesnakes. Picture a hiker's hand landing on a rock ledge she can't see over, reaching up blind to pull herself onto the next shelf of trail. That's the classic bite scenario for this snake. Not a strike from ambush on open ground, but a hand or foot placed somewhere a snake already was. Timber rattlesnake venom carries more potency than copperhead venom, and the medical severity of a confirmed bite runs higher across the board. More swelling, more tissue involvement, longer hospital stays. Timber rattlesnakes den communally, sometimes dozens sharing the same rock crevice through the cold months, and they return to that same den year after year, generation after generation, in a pattern tied to one specific patch of ground, the way a family keeps coming back to the same house. That's what makes the decline so hard to reverse. Lose one den site to a road cut or a housing development, and you don't just lose the snakes living there that winter. You lose a wintering site that took decades, maybe longer, to establish in the first place. But the raw bite numbers stay lower than copperheads. And here's the part that gets missed. That's not because the snake is passive. Fewer bites, in this case, partly just means fewer snakes left to encounter. Number 3. Domestic dogs, specifically the loose and feral ones that roam rural Appalachian counties, without an owner keeping track of them. A mail carrier, walking the same rural route for years, gets rushed at the property line by the same loose dog. No owner in sight, no fence, nothing but a driveway. The dog's decided belongs to it. That's not a one-off. Rural carriers and joggers report that exact scene over and over. A dog reading a stranger on the road as a territory violation, not a person just passing through. This is the data point that gets left off almost every wildlife list, and it shouldn't be. Confirmed bite statistics pulled from rural health departments across the region show dogs causing more bite injuries, combined, than every snake species on this list put together. Copperheads, cottonmouths, timber rattlesnakes, add them all up, and free-roaming dogs still account for more documented harm. Here's why that qualifies as wildlife for the purpose of this ranking. A dog with no owner, no leash, and no accountability behaves closer to a wild animal defending territory than a pet. Confirmed, uncounted, unmanaged, and undeniable. Number 2 flips the entire frame of this list. It's not the biggest animal here. It's not the scariest. It's the smallest thing on the ranking by a wide margin: the tick. Specifically, the deer tick, and specifically what it carries. A tick doesn't attack you the way a bobcat or a hog might. It doesn't lunge. It doesn't chase. It doesn't even move fast. It waits on a blade of grass with its front legs out, climbs on when you brush past, and finds a place to settle in for a meal that can run several days if nobody notices. What makes this number 2 isn't the bite. It's what rides along with it. Lyme disease case counts across Appalachian states have climbed for 2 decades running, confirmed by state health department tracking, not estimation. Here's where it gets specific. Pennsylvania alone confirms thousands of new cases every year, and Virginia, West Virginia, and North Carolina have all watched their counts climb right alongside it, decade over decade, as the deer tick's range pushes into higher elevation counties that used to report almost none. That climb tracks the same range creep driving a lot of this list. Milder winters mean fewer ticks die off before spring, and a longer warm season means more months where a tick can find a host and settle in. And when you add up the volume, confirmed tick-borne illness, and the long-term joint and neurological damage that follows, some of those cases outnumbers the combined harm from every other animal on this list. Bears, snakes, hogs, dogs, stack them together, and ticks still come out ahead on total documented damage to human health across the region. Sit with that number for a second, because it changes what this whole ranking is actually measuring. The tick wins on total harm, the sheer volume of confirmed illness stacked up year after year. But number 1 isn't measured in volume. It's measured in deaths, and that's a different column entirely. Hold that split in your head as we move to number 1, because the animal at the top of this list isn't a predator either. That's not a coincidence. Number 1, reveal and payoff. Go back to that gap from the opening, the space between what she's looking at and what's actually there. That's the whole case, right here. No fangs, no claws, no venom. The animal at the top of this list doesn't carry a single weapon built for killing. Number 1, the white-tailed deer. Picture a 2-lane road through a mountain pass in October, dusk already dropping fast in the hills. A driver takes a curve at the speed that curve has always been safe at. A deer breaks from the tree line, chasing a doe toward nothing in particular. That timing isn't random. Deer move most at dawn and dusk, every day of the year. During the rut, from mid-October through November, bucks stay on their feet for hours past that normal window, chasing does across open ground they'd otherwise avoid in daylight. Layer the clock change on top of that. Evening rush hour gets pushed into that same dusk window. Thousands of drivers cross the exact stretch of road at the exact hour deer are moving the most. Here's the confirmed number pattern. Appalachian states report some of the highest deer vehicle collision rates in the entire country, and West Virginia sits at the top of that list year after year, with Pennsylvania and Virginia close behind. Deaths and serious injuries from these collisions, confirmed by state transportation and insurance data, outpace the combined fatalities from every bear, snake, hog, and dog on this entire ranking. Not close, not a rough estimate. Outpace confirmed, year over year. Name the mechanism plainly, because it's not what the rest of this list has been building toward. There's no predation here. There's no defensive strike, no habituation. No venom delivery system evolved over millions of years. It's a large animal built to run fast through brush, and a vehicle built to run fast through open road, meeting at the one place where neither one can see the other coming in time. That's not an attack. That's a collision problem, and the physics of it don't care about intent. It's not stalking a trail or defending a den. It's not even aware you exist until your headlights hit it. What stays open is the trend line. Wildlife agencies track collision counts close, county by county, season by season. But whether the deer population driving those numbers keeps climbing over the next decade or starts leveling off as habitat and hunting pressure shift, nobody's confirmed that yet. Not the agencies, not the insurance data, nobody. The number that put a deer at number 1 on this list is still being written. Follow the confirmed record instead of the fear, and the entire ranking flips. That gap from the opening, 6 inches and a fraction of a second, was never a snake or a bear waiting in the brush. It was a deer at the tree line, and the drive home was the real risk the whole time. Drop your state in the comments if you've had a close call with anything on this list: tick, bear, or deer on a dark road. Subscribe for the next case file.